Hey folks, this is important. Earlier this year, there were some significant changes to Social Security eligibility. How about that? I choked on that one. To some federal and state employees. And here to help us understand what it means is certified financial planner Jim Lineweaver. He knows how to say it. You could say it 10 times in a row, right?
Yeah, yes.
There you go. So what's happened here? What do these changes mean to people?
So the Biden administration, right before he kind of ended, was he passed the Social Security Fairness Act, which took place on January 5th of this year. And what it really did is for anybody that's really getting a state pension, like a police and fire, it could be teachers, people in state retirement systems, or OPERS, what ends up happening is they had two offsets. One was a windfall elimination, and the other one was a governmental offset. And they could lose up to like 50% of their Social Security in order to go to collect, right? And you also, a lot of them weren't getting their quarters that they needed in order to qualify for Social Security. So what they did is they eliminated all these offsets, and now people that traditionally would have had a major offset or almost gotten no Social Security can now get a lot more.
So that's a lot of people.
It is. As a matter of fact, almost 3 million people are affected.
So what does the law change for them?
Yeah, so what ends up happening is it already took into effect back in January. People started to get some of their checks in February. And what happens is if people were already, let's say, collecting Social Security or their pension back in January of 2024, they got a lump sum check in addition to an increase in their check. If they weren't collecting or they didn't file back then they're not going to get that catch-up provision.
Okay, so all these people, this change has happened. What do they see in this change and how do they react to it?
Yeah, well, the issue is now that it's sinking in for people, we're finding that people aren't making the right decision, right? So they're just going and saying, now I can get my full Social Security, let's just go qualify for it. Well, what they miss is that their spouse, because let's say they didn't pay much into Social Security, they may be able to pick a spousal benefit and be able to get more Social Security than if they just collected on their own. So they need to take a look at both sides of the equation.
So that'll affect survivor rights also.
Yeah. And what also people have to understand is that let's say they were taking withdrawals from a 457 or a 403B or an IRA or some retirement account. Now that they're going to be getting their Social Security, what ends up happening is not all of that is taxed. As a matter of fact, for some people, it'd be totally tax-free.
Whoa.
So as opposed to distributions from retirement accounts, which they're going to most likely have to be 100% taxable, if you're single and you start out, you look at your income and it's between $25,000 all the way up to $34,000, they say you're going to have to start paying taxes on your Social Security. You add about 50% to your tax return at the lower bracket, you get up to about that 34,000 mark, then 85% of your Social Security gets added for taxation. But it's still not 100%. So that means if you're collecting Social Security now, you may be able to reduce the amount that you're having to take out of retirement accounts, and guess what? Pay less in taxes.
There you go. So we're talking about strategy now. So
yes.
You get this money now. So you don't sit on it like an egg.
Yeah.
You have to do something about it.
Right.
So how do you react? What's the first
Well,
thing
that's
you
the
should
coordination. You know, we got to get to know the individuals and what they're trying to accomplish. And you know, you could have either the best returns in the world or the greatest income, but if you're losing a lot of it to taxes, what good did it do for you? So you really needed somebody with not only a certified financial planner, but also try to meet with somebody that can coordinate the tax side too.
It gets really complicated because you're talking about like spousal and then individuals, and this is something that just sort of occurred in the past few years, right?
Yeah, because this additional money may push you into another tax bracket if you're not careful. It may increase your IRMA limits, or in other words, how much you're going to pay on that extra tax kind of for Medicare and things. So it could have a ripple effect, and that's what you got to be careful about.
Hey, so you're talking about it could be 24,000, it could be 36,000 for some people, and you need a tax strategy. How much of an error are you making if you don't talk to perhaps you or somebody like you to straighten out your tax strategy?
Oh, a lot. Well, the government will be happy with you because you're paying more taxes. But I'd much rather pay your fair share and not pay a dime more than you have to. So I know we've talked about it before. Great time to look at your tax return. People have just gotten in the last couple months. If you're seeing your interest income pretty high on there, or ordinary dividends that aren't qualifying dividends, these are all things you got to look at to try to either eliminate those taxes or maybe get something into tax-free or tax-deferred to help you out.
It's almost like when you get a windfall waterfall, you see something that's really good news, you got to make sure it stays good news.
Exactly.
'Cause
You don't just give it all away.
It could turn into something else.
It could have a ripple effect.
So there you folks. If you're affected by the new rule, or even if you want to simply get a second opinion on your current withdrawal plan, just call Jim and his team at 216-520-1711 or schedule your appointment online at lineweaver.net. You get more money, start to save some more money. There you
Sounds
go.
good. Yes.
Yeah. Thank
Appreciate
you very much.
Thank